This is Keys to the Shop, episode 450, a conversation about mobile apps and hospitality with Joe Capone of Espressly. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFurio, and I'm your host for the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. In addition to this podcast, Keys to the Shop also offers consulting and coaching for you and your business. One-on-one consultation and coaching for coffee shop owners and operators to help you elevate your operations, your people, and your quality. And I have been so privileged over these years to work with so many of you out there and helping you just build a thriving, profitable, and joy-filled coffee shop experience. We dig into the details. We get sustainable long-term solutions for you and your crew. So I hope to be able to work with you one-on-one at some point in 2024. Again, Chris at keystotheshop.com. Now, as customers increase their expectations of coffee's flavor and consistency, our technology needs to keep pace with their expectations. That's why I'm always so excited to talk about the Ground Control Brewer. This brewer uses SCA award-winning technology to offer an incredible access and range in terms of extraction of flavor to your coffee. It brings everything up a level or 10. Really, it's magnificent. Their new brewer is 45% less in terms of investment than the original Cyclops brewer. You can use early bird special pricing for that. It's only 24 inches high, but it is a powerhouse. Plus, it has 30% higher volume for batch espresso, cold brew concentrate, and is cloud connected to a smart dispenser that tracks all of your brewing data. So this is a wonder in terms of equipment. I think you should check them out at groundcontrol.coffee. 8-minute cold brew, batched concentrates for iced latte, the most amazing batch brew we've ever had. This is clearly a winner. Check them out again over at groundcontrol.coffee. Plant-based beverages are here to stay. They dominate the market, really. When you think about the most busy coffee shops out there, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but plant-based beverages outpace regular milk-based beverages in many places. You want to have the best. I think you need to be looking at the Barista Series. This comes to us from Pacific. The Barista Series is the line of plant-based performance beverages that is created for baristas and approved by baristas all over the world. Their extensive lineup, all of them will stand up to the heat from steaming. It makes amazing texture for latte art in your beverages, and also it keeps the flavor balance focused on the coffee. Not only that, but Pacific has been long time a supporter of the coffee community and barista community. It matters when a company is passionate and connected with the end user. It shows in their products. Go to pacificfoodservice.com, get samples, and try this out on your coffee bar for yourself. I think you're really going to like this. If you want to serve the best plant-based beverages out there, I think you need to look at the Barista Series from Pacific. Okay, everybody. Well, today I am so pleased to have on the show someone who I get to talk to at Coffee Fest and on and off again through email. And someone who you've heard me talking about their company on the show for many, many an episode through Espressly. And that is none other than Joe Capone of Espressly. Now, Joe is the co-founder and CEO of Espressly, and Joe oversees and manages the team at Espressly as they continue to advance and sustain the mobile app and ordering system for coffee shops across the U.S. He is an experienced software developer and previously ran a web development agency that helped clients throughout the U.S. Joe has a passion for using technology as the foundation for sales and marketing systems and loves how mobile apps are readily available to the masses, enabling things that we only dreamed of in years past. And so to talk to Joe about what they do at Espressly and about this subject is to tap into a lot of passion, and you're going to find that here in this conversation. And that's what I love about Espressly and Joe in particular, is that, you know, beneath all of the technology is a heart that is really gunning for the success of the people that use the tech. And any of us want that. We want that in a mobile app, and we want that with any kind of technology, we use tons of technology in the store. And, in this conversation, we're going to be talking about the place of the mobile app and technology in the hospitality experience. I'm going to be really talking about some things that we need to wrestle with when it comes to the convenience versus quality conversation, how we create efficient flow and management of our technology in the actual cafe, and just the quest for creating a seamless customer experience and using something like an app well. And it doesn't have to be an app. If you just take this conversation and apply it to any kind of additional service that you offer your customers, I think the concepts and philosophies that Joe brings to this conversation are really applicable, and you're going to get a lot from this, I guarantee it. So great to have the opportunity to bring Joe on the show, and yeah, for you to hear his passion for coffee people, for technology, and bringing it all together. So let's get right to it. Here now is my conversation about mobile apps and hospitality with Joe Capone of Espressly. All right, Joe, welcome to Keys to the Shop. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show, Chris. And I'm looking forward to whatever we're going to talk about today and just being a part of the coffee community.
Yes, indeed. We're going to talk about some apps, but beyond that, we're going to be talking about. I really am interested in your perspective with these relationships you've developed with Espressly in this convenience technology side of the business. Now, people have listened to the show for a while. They know that I've been advertising Espressly on the show for a while now. It's more than just a product, it's a desire that people have in the industry that's being met by a service. And so we're going to dive into that today. But I really want to start a little bit by talking about, how did Joe get into developing apps for cafes?
My entire life, I've always been really infatuated by the ease that technology can bring to whatever task. I'm really just, computers, they don't get tired, they run constantly, they don't make mistakes, and they can help us to do things that otherwise we get frustrated with. I've had a desire to build software for a long, long time, and I've worked on many different things. And going back to 2018, I started a company. We were kind of like Grubhub. We had restaurants and we facilitated delivery. We had our own delivery drivers. And this was really the beginning of this whole craze that we see with Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash. At the time, helping somebody order a pizza or a steak and get it delivered was really the focus. Like 99% of the focus of this concept was food delivered for dinner. To do that, we became a logistics company. We had to hire delivery drivers and manage them. And what happened was, I didn't want to run a logistics company. It was something that we had to do, but I wanted to build software that helped to lower people's blood pressure, so to speak, to make it easier, not to introduce pain points. And when you're dealing with delivery, it's nothing but pain. At the time that we were working on this project and Uber Eats and all those guys came rushing in, it was kind of funny to look at the Starbucks app. At the time, it was kind of a joke. It was almost like, look at this global beast of a company tinkering in technology. And, you could place an order in the Starbucks app and you could pick up your coffee. And it was honestly really something we laughed at. Like, yeah, right. The coffee, it takes 2 minutes. Like, why would I need to order ahead? It was a joke. But then it wasn't a joke. We saw how amazing that their app was for their business. And it really became sort of the foundation to what they were doing. And ordering was really blowing up for them. And there was just a basic observation that I made, which in the restaurant world, Grubhub and those guys, they give away their software for free. Any restaurant can have their menu on their platform, whether there's orders or not, it doesn't matter. It's spread almost like a virus. They'll spread it far and wide to as many as could ever want it. And it is what it is. In the coffee world, it was obvious that, well, Starbucks was crushing it and beginning to crush it, but they never in a million years would ever have any desire to spread their software around to other coffee shops not called Starbucks. So for me, it was pretty obvious. We could go into coffee and be clear and free of this delivery thing, which is really, really a mess. And we could build really nice white label apps for people that otherwise might not have the capability or the budget to have their own app. It could be fully branded for the coffee shop, and we could just sit in the background and be their friend, to be software developers, to give them the peace of mind of knowing that we were focusing on making sure that the software was going to work. They could grow their brand. They could do it all. It could be their name. We didn't really want to be showcase. We didn't want our name to be there. We just wanted to work on what we do. So it was just through a progression of discovery, starting in the marketplace style app and moving into ultimately what wasn't out there, in my opinion, which was really what Starbucks was doing. And so that was approximately 2020 during the pandemic that we dumped everything and went full into coffee shops. It was also then that, from a point of sale standpoint, it was obvious that so many coffee shops used Square, and Square's technology was so stable and just really so far advanced that we thought we had a nice opportunity to work in our business to just focus on this one thing that we do. And here we are today, and we love doing it.
Nice. And all the way back to the idea that you were the fascination with technology and the efficiency that it brings to a need that people have, in this case, originally with food and now with coffee, these are things that we always, no matter what era of civilization we're in, we're pursuing something to drink, something to eat. Convenience is one of those things that we look for. The other part about this that's interesting is that a lot of independent coffee retailers fancy themselves as being the alternative to the corporate coffee entities. While at the same time, I think we're mature enough now in the industry to admit that there are a lot of things that they have done in the corporate world that have been beneficial that we can also, benefit from. The fear that people have, of course, is that, well, I don't want to be the thing that I don't like. And so we start to paint things with the brush of, if it's associated with this, then that's what it will do to my company. And that's what I like about the pursuit that Espressly has and what they're doing, what you're doing. And that it's the custom branded, it's a boutique kind of bespoke kind of app, right? Which means, to me at least, that you're not going to run the risk of having that feel, but the functionality is there. So talk a little bit about how you ride the line between having the technology, and maybe this is a broader question of tech and hospitality, between convenience but not a downgrade in expectation of quality or connection.
Yeah, quality is everything. And Sally or Steve or whoever it is, if they're waking up one morning and they need to place their order for a coffee, the only thing that matters to that person is that they get their coffee, right? It has to be perfect. It has to be of the highest quality. And it has to have not just a smooth technology to place the order, but when they get to the store, it needs to be perfect. It needs to flow straight down through the baristas, through the work staff. It just all needs to click. And if it's not able to be perfect or it isn't perfect, it's really trash. It's not even worth pursuit. If you can give a coffee shop their own app and it's connected to their point of sale system and it's smooth as silk and they go in and they pick up that coffee that's waiting for them, it's extremely powerful in the sense of rewarding that individual and showing them that this coffee shop literally loves them. We know how hectic people's lives are. And if you can execute for me on that front and get me my coffee and it's hot and it's delicious and it meets the need that I have, I'm going to come back every single day. I'm a huge coffee drinker myself. I love coffee. It is a ritual. It is something that I find to be very important to me in my life. When I have my family over or I have my friends over, to spend, an extra 15 or 20 minutes to make a French press or, to do a pour over or something like that. It has real meaning to me. And to people that drink coffee, it means something to us. And so now if you tell me that I can wake up and reliably, consistently place an order at your coffee shop, we're friends. I've been coming in for years and it's just one less thing that I need to worry about, I will literally be there every single day. And if you can reward me and you can recognize me and you can give me points or stars or whatever you want to call it, and occasionally let me get a free muffin or a free coffee, a free latte or whatever, you're one of my favorite people in the world. And it's not a big thing. I'm spending a few bucks per day, or maybe it's $10 per day. But from the standpoint of giving me some peace in my life as I go about the craziness of life, it helps me more than I can even put into words. Another thing why I say I love what we do at Espressly and I love working with the shops, it is because we know that their business is it's a large part of their life. Having their business succeed in a way where they can go home at night and feel like they can unplug and be with their family and continue working on this mission they have, expanding or not. That mission is critical to them. And if we can just be one part of their story where we just keep the software running and we provide support essentially 24/7 and we're there for them to call on when they need us. It's very powerful, from a team standpoint, and it trickles down to the work staff and it trickles down to the customers and it trickles out to the community. You don't find this with restaurants. You just don't. It's with coffee that you have that daily ritual that this entire thing becomes possible. It's hard truly to capture what all that means, but for us, it gives us the motivation and the inspiration to continue every single day advancing what we work on behalf of the folks that trust us.
And like anything else, the responsibility for the use of the product itself, in this case, an app, is something that is on the end user's plate to make sure that they are using it responsibly. Like, I can have the best espresso machine in the world, I can have the best coffee in the world. If I'm not using it properly, then I'm not going to deliver the best product. In fact, you and I were talking about an experience you had at a Starbucks where there was a lot of the mobile tickets, being lined up on the bar. Your drink, the in-person drink that you got, was just a coffee, I suppose. I remember, but you got a little bit lost there. It seems like a breakdown in how the logistics on that side, like on the cafe side, even though the app is working like clockwork, but maybe the people using the app aren't working like clockwork. I mean, talk a little bit about that experience. And it really brings up, I'd say, a concern that a lot of people have around apps, in that it's another input of order that adds, in their mind, adds chaos to an already busy atmosphere. So maybe speak to that a little bit and some tactics that might be helpful in proper use of this tech.
Yeah, so at Espresso, we happen to make apps, sure, and we like when people order in the app. But taking a step back, if you look at the coffee shop, it doesn't matter whether someone's going to order in app or they're going to order in person, right? We want them to do, or we want to be able to do whatever is best for us at that moment. And yeah, we were talking about how I went in and I didn't want to fumble with my phone. I didn't want to open an app. I didn't want to place an order. I wanted to come in. Actually, I was having a crazy busy day. I wanted to talk to somebody, even just for a few seconds. They don't know me. I don't know them. I saw that they had just made, it was some Christmas brew. I saw they had just made it. It was a dark roast. And I was excited to get that. And I talked to them for a moment and we had a little chuckle. We literally both, everyone sort of looked to the left. And when I say there were 40 orders, I mean, there's probably more than that. There's children. Parents are sending their children in to go pick up their drinks. They're coming in. They're grabbing it off the counter. They're going. People are pushing each other.
Because they're smaller, they can go in and out faster.
Yeah. So this is a long-term thing, right? This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And for the coffee shop owners that are listening to your podcast, this is their career. This is what they do. And no one's looking for a flavor of the month solution, that's going to try to make customers feel like they're forced to do something. Nobody wants to be forced into tech. You go to whatever store, fill in the blank, and you see all this self-checkout and there's fewer and fewer people working the registers. It's sad. It's really a sad state of affairs. I don't want to talk about Espressly. We're not here to talk about Espressly, but I think that the perfect or the best solution for a business owner that happens to be, an entrepreneur in the coffee shop space is to have some system that it can adapt to whatever the day calls for. It can adapt to whatever the customer needs. Is it snowing out? Is it a beautiful sunny day? Do you have workers on that are chatty and want to talk to people? Maybe they need some peace. Maybe they need to talk to some customers. But the idea is far too often, and I think thankfully it's retracting a bit, there's just like this super duper like venture capital fueled migration to technology, and it's got to be like go 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 go. And you see it among the point of sale companies, whether it's Toast or Square or Clover. There's so much move to automation and AI, and it's really overwhelming. And all I want is my coffee. I don't care about all that stuff as a customer. I just want a nice coffee. I want a nice experience. I want to be rewarded for being loyal to my shop. I want to be rewarded for choosing the local shop over the global corporate brand. What you implement at the store level, you really need to make sure that it's hitting on the right points relative to protecting your brand, giving you, I don't want to say a megaphone to call out to your customers from within your own brand, but in a way, yeah, sort of to give you a podium or a megaphone to make sure that these people that they've been loyal to you forever and they will be forever. You want to give them the peace of mind of knowing that although you are adapting technology and you're moving to order ahead and a lot of these things that the big corporates have, you want them to know that you're not forgetting about them as the quote unquote little person or individual. And you want them to know that they can safely embrace these things their information isn't going to be marketed to the highest bidder. And I'm not going to be getting advertisements slammed in my face about coffee shops down the street. I need to know that if I'm going to trust some piece of software, that as I pour my heart and soul into my business, there's no leakage. I don't want my customers being shown a coupon to a shop 5 miles down the road. If I see that, honestly, as a business owner, I would personally rethink my entire business plan, because it's not going to work. But if you can isolate something inside of a product that has my name, that has my colors, that is, well, hopefully easily connected to the point of sale system that I use anyway, that we're updating anyway, and the prices are always perfect and the images look right. If you can do that, I think that what you actually have is the world's most powerful and capable worker, the world's most powerful and capable barista, somebody that's a team member. The app should become part of your team. It should make life easier. It should gather greater tips. It should drive overall satisfaction with your customer base. It should drive overall satisfaction with your workers. And if you can have a culture that's built around that satisfaction, it's just kind of, that's the whole basis to it, as you talk about all the time.
Yeah, and the basis, of course, is that connection. And the orbit of your brand is something that people automatically think about when they open coffee shops as it is, because we already accept that our to go cups have our logo on it. We have t shirts and mugs. We have websites and the social media handles. We have all these extensions and verticals of our brands because we know that the customer interacting with us it is not something most people would admit that they are a part of, but for all better or worse, it's a lifestyle decision to purchase a coffee from an independent coffee retailer. And that decision is backed up by the consistency of the experience, but also the fact that there are other bits and pieces that support it. And the app is just part of the longer chain of things that support it. Yeah, we do talk about that continuity of experience across different platforms for a brand. And something I was thinking about earlier was the person who might use an app for a coffee shop. I use apps, to order if I'm at a trade show and I don't feel like going out after a long day in the trade show. I might order some Indian food on Yelp or Grubhub or something, right? And so I'm using it and that business is benefiting from it. But at the same time, I still go to restaurants. So I'm not 100%, and I'm not even sure what the statistics are on this in terms of if somebody's going to use the app, are they always going to use the app? Are they never going to come in and get coffee? But you yourself seem to be a test case and someone who kind of does both. I get the feeling like it's maybe half and half for most people. What do you think about that?
I think that even today, as we head into 2024, I actually think that most people have never used an order ahead experience. Most people, like if you really think about the entire population that's out there, not talking about the folks that are on social media that are following, the fact is most people don't even think about this stuff. We're still in the early innings here of the population, adopting this technology. Now, obviously, there are huge amounts of people that use apps to place orders. Some people use the app 100% of the time. We have customers. When I look at how many times they've ordered, I almost it kind of worries me for them. They've ordered literally 2,000 times. And I look and I'm like, wait a minute, the app hasn't even been live for 1,000 days. And, we can see how much money they've spent. And I don't know, it's really, I think about Amazon, right? I've definitely ordered probably 2,000 times from Amazon, from the app. Outside of Amazon, I definitely haven't ordered nearly as much in any other app on my phone ever, not even close to that. So to see that these customers are ordering literally more than I bet they use Amazon over and over and over, and they're earning points and they're redeeming those points for discounts, I'm led to believe they're just going to do that literally forever. They will order every day. Those people will order every single day for the next fill in the blank, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I was having a conversation with the coffee shop owner. His name's Chris. He has 3 locations, real beautiful setup, very aesthetically pleasing in Massachusetts. And he was telling me that his business, his entire business is truly built around the ritual and the consistency. And if the app goes down for even one day, one order, 1 minute, you increase the chances that you will knock that one person off of their ritual and they will go down the street. It could be Starbucks, right? It could be where they can confidently feel that they're going to be able to continue on this ritual without a bug or without any crashing. If you can find thousands of people that can consistently order without any hiccups in your shop, you better believe it, they're going to. But if you adopt technology that can't deliver on that, you might get them to order a few times, but they're not going to order every single day. And you made an investment in something that's broken and no one's really telling you, but they're flocking away because they don't trust the technology that you've given them. And that affects the overall trust of your brand.
Okay, so when people are listening to you right now, I'm thinking this right now, and maybe I'm channeling some thoughts here. But the pandemic showed us that not only do we have a short runway for savings to keep our businesses open, so a lot of businesses closed as a result, but we also have a limited income streams in terms of diversity. The people who had wholesale accounts or they had online ordering, especially, these are the ones that had padding to weather the storm better than most. And so the name of the game has been diversifying income, and people have been going nuts with this. All sorts of different verticals have opened up, and many different coffee companies have they're coffee and now, right? So with what you just described, when you describe a coffee shop who's got so much built on an app, one, okay, that's pretty encouraging that they can count on an app to do that. But it also makes me think, is this just a similar version of that scenario where there's an over dependency on a convenience technology that creates a shaky foundation where the business owner would do well to not allow somebody, yes, use the app, but how can they diversify the way that they make connections? So if there is a hiccup, God forbid, but if there is, it's not going to be so easy for that person to just shake off that independent in favor of streamlined technology elsewhere, greener pastures. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that's why we see occasionally, like take Square for instance, or Toast or any of them. Some of these companies they have system outages. These are companies they're run by human beings, and it's a bunch of code. And get one engineer that pushes the wrong line of code, and boom, you have these literally billion-dollar market capitalization companies that are publicly traded. They're working under such pressure to advance their products, to add so many new things that sometimes through the course of evolving, they break the system. I'm very familiar with, the pain that causes. And you really see truly how dependent these businesses, they are truly dependent on one particular software product. And it's definitely alarming for sure. How you function in a world where you're so heavily dependent on one piece of software, knowing that it's not going to be perfect forever, how you have a plan to have a backup. You have to have a plan. You must have a plan. Things are going to break. It's just inevitable. It's going to happen. And it's certainly something I recommend that all the shop owners out there sit down and have your A, B, C, D ready to go. Make sure you have a backup POS. Make sure you have a backup ordering mechanism. Make sure that within your app that you have proper call outs, hey, order ahead is unavailable at the moment, but come on in. We're open until 9 p.m. You need to think this through like a mouse going through a maze, and if you can't get that mouse out the end, if you can't get them to the end, you got real trouble. When you have trouble, it causes stress on the entire system. And when income is limited or you don't have the savings, man, that stress really, really creeps up. And you find people that all of a sudden they really were passionate about opening their dream coffee shop, but they become so buried and so worried about things that are outside of their scope, technology. It can be very, very scary. And I just want to say it's one of those things where at Espressly, like we know how important it is that we do our job. And that means that we deliver on functional software and we're there to support it. And most importantly, we're not distracted. You can't do everything for everyone. And a lot of the software companies out there, not good, bad, or anything, but the fact is they're trying to make so many different products and make so many different features that they lose track of the thing that you hire them for, which is reliability and dependency in your little realm. And they want you to stay in your little space, stay in your lane, and just do the job. And far too often, it's easy to overpromise and underdeliver. You see that failure of businesses a lot of times comes from this sort of thing they never thought of, and it's instability of software in many cases. And that's why I believe that choosing the right point of sale foundation of your coffee shop business is actually the most important thing, more important than the app. The core point of sale, which is also your payroll system, or is also your clocking in, clocking out system, in your inventory, in your menu management. It's just so important. To go back to, like, you were kind of talking about, how all this stuff sort of it plays a part, and you could become over dependent on it. And how do you not become over dependent on it? You just need to have a mindset. You need to have a person on your team that's very comfortable with navigating across the environment, understanding what's out there, but also has the fortitude to just say, look, this is what we've chosen as our core base software product. This is our point of sale. And you know what? A hiccup here or there, it's not going to rock us so bad that we're going to go frantically jump ship and go into another point of sale company, because the same problems exist everywhere. So the big thing I would want to say is that in 2024, which we're basically there, the point of sale of today is not what it was 3 years ago. The point of sale today functions on your customer's mobile device. The customers are the ones that are controlling your point of sale system. They're doing it by navigating through your mobile app, whether it's a marketplace app where there's tons of coffee shops, or it's your own branded app that's integrated with your system, or something between. They are interacting with you. They are the point of sale operators. Your baristas, they're just seeing orders as they come in. And far too often, I find that there's this back and forth, nickel and diming that's occurring, and people don't truly understand that they need to move upstream. The upstream is the mobile app, it's the interface, it's everything the customer touches and sees. And if your point of sale system can't deliver or can't allow a fully enabled, white labeled system that's respectful of your brand and your customer base, it's a flawed program.
It's limiting the way that a customer can choose to interact with your brand the same way as having a website maybe that doesn't allow people to do certain things that you would imagine a website should allow you to do. It's like I want to click on the about page, but I can't learn about you, or I want to order, a bag of coffee, but only do that in store. So there's these things that I think people want their customers to have more freedom to interact with their brand, especially in a competitive marketplace. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And the integration of an app into the system, you bring up an interesting point. And I just today got done with a conversation airing later with somebody in the world of espresso machine tech. And a lot of companies eventually will train somebody in house to handle the things that happen in their multiple cafes because it's going to cost too much to get somebody from outside to deal with it, or for whatever reason, that's just a better idea. You mentioned having somebody on staff who's trained, and it sounds like is in technology of the customer facing nature, the websites, the app, and things like that. So this would be kind of like a deputized person, a specialist, so to speak, on the team, is what you're suggesting?
Don't see how it would hurt. And I believe that there's oodles of these people in the coffee space now that are baristas, they're programmers, or they're just very knowledgeable technology folks. It's when you fully embrace that person, you give them that job to be the champion of, you start unleashing the beast. You know what I mean? You start really driving capabilities that are just not going to happen otherwise.
Hmm. Well, let me ask you about the people that you talk to now that you've been working with lots of different coffee shops through the app who use this well, who use technology to their advantage to further the connection to their customers, but also train their staff well to avoid the 40 ticket pileup. Like maybe some insights into the world of expert integration into the workflow on the cafe level. Because I think there's this maybe misguided idea that once we plug this in, it's going to be humming in the background working for us. And in some respect, I suppose that's true when you get down to the nuts and bolts. But I mean, you've got to be able to train your staff, how to prioritize, to know what that like and all of this stuff. So it's a part of the onboarding, I guess. So what have you seen people do that has made them a little bit more successful integrating this technology?
There's so many things that the different shops do. It's all logic, right? So logic would dictate that on a Saturday at 10 a.m., your order flow is going to be much greater than it's going to be with fill in the blank during the day, during the week, right? From things like potentially throttling orders, where you only are going to take in 40% of the orders normally, having technology that can actually communicate this to the customer. Nothing is truly implemented perfectly, but it starts with the basic logic of saying, this would be a perfect scenario. And, if you could not dump 200 orders on me over the course of 15 minutes, that would be critical. You don't want technology to get out of control, to be just dumping stuff on you that you can't keep up with. So, from a standpoint of just managing settings in a software system, find something that can help you to logically set hours, set perhaps as a period of rush where, order ahead, it could be off or it could be throttled. It's just this the basic logic of understanding, through the course of the week that you have control over the system. The system is not just unleashed and just gone wild. You can check a box and you could indicate that order ahead is not available at the moment. From what I see, having a station, right, a pickup station, of course, where maybe you even have the alphabet broken down into 3 segments where you stage items, that could be a wise way to move product. Because what you don't want is customers confused. You don't want them approaching the counter and wondering, like, where is my drink among this sea of orders? Look at the facilitation of getting items out the door and find the most appropriate pickup station. Have it, in the right place for your work staff to load things. There's order status boards, like you might see it like Panera Bread, right? You could see orders on a board, maybe with the customer initial. And if the POS like Square can pass your order status through, as in being prepared or ready for pickup, well, I could look at that board and I could approach the counter at the right time when I know my item is there, so I'm not causing a log jam. Things like that, those are important. But also, I would say that the vast majority of shops, they're not maxed out. You know what I mean? They're essentially welcoming of orders when they're open. And I find it to be very interesting to go into a shop and really watch them function without any throttling, without any limitation, giving customers ability to place orders. And what you see is that they are so capable and they're so empowered. And when you remove the need to stand at the register, placing an order by voice, keying it in, well, guess what? You've just freed up the part of my job that I least like. And now I'm just going to get to make espresso drinks. So I think that a lot of times people overestimate how complex this is. Really, all it is a superpower employee that just takes every single order and makes everything right. And the customer gets to pick exactly what they want. And for shops out there that don't have this in place, that don't have their own app, I would just say, try it, turn it on. You will fall in love with it because it removes a lot of the negative pieces that are normally associated with working behind the counter. And it's the taking of orders and finding the right buttons in the right place and making sure you get the right modifier picked and all that. The customers will do that perfectly. And the orders will come in and they'll be displayed on your POS system. The printer flow will work exactly the way you want. Profitability increases with revenue increasing. Average tip per order increases. Your workers are making more money. With the right system, things are streamlined in terms of all your tax prep and all that. It's interesting what you say about pandemic. A lot of times people think that all this stuff came from pandemic. They think that a lot of this stuff was accelerated from pandemic. But what I actually think is that a lot of this stuff is now happening. Yeah, sure, pandemic maybe kicked it forward a little bit, but companies like Apple, Google, Square, fill in the blank, they've been working on technology for a long, long, long time. And we just happen to be at a point from an integration standpoint and a mobile app standpoint and quality of iPhones and Androids and all this stuff, everything integrated and talking to each other. We just happen to arrive at a point technologically that finally has made all this doable. Because if you go back 10 years, you could probably say, sure, we could try this, but the infrastructure underlying everything was shaky. Now it's rock solid.
Well, I'm thinking a little bit about the statement you made about working perfectly, and I want to push back on that a little bit because customers always make mistakes in one respect or another. Because let's say that I am using the app and I'm at a red light and it's going to turn green. Somebody honks at me and I press skim instead of 2%. You know what I mean? like, or I say, actually, I didn't mean to push that, but it went in. I want to change that. Is it too late? Can I take that over? And the reason I bring this up is because not because I want to like get on this train of denigrating customers. We give them every opportunity, and we should, whether that they're at the register or in front of an app. We want to make sure that the user experience in real life or in digitally is intuitive and easy. But anyone who's managed baristas or interacted with the public knows that easy is not always what it takes. And sometimes it's that grace to have the recovery plan for people who do take what may be a perfect setup to just like man, this is like bumper bowling, but still there's mistakes. So it's like we need to still be in this mindset of nothing's going to be perfect. We're going to get it as close as we can, but the what makes a great experience is how we handle the mistakes that happen through different means. So a customer says, it's not really what I wanted, or it wasn't clear the way you did this or that. Okay, we'll recover that. Instead of saying, well, scrap it, we'll just innovate, we'll refine, we'll switch something on the app, or we'll remake the drink. We'll be graceful. Because sometimes I think that we get a certain kind of rigidity about us when it comes to menus and ordering, where we say, well, it says it right there on the menu. I'm sorry, we already made it. Next, that kind of thing. So, still in the mix of all of this efficiency and streamlining and the quest for perfection of flow is the necessary element of grace in the messy relationships that makes coffee shops kind of what they are, right?
Yeah, you're right. I use the word perfect. It's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. But I use the word as an engineer. And what I really mean is that, like, a system that is properly allowed to be iterated around feedback loops, around observed issues, if you can iterate and you have a mechanism that you can iterate, and it can be done where your workers feel that they have a voice in the iteration. I mean, you're just working day to day to advance and keep people happy and iterate so that the next time they come back, they're going to say, "Oh wow, I ran into that issue last time. You helped me, but wow, you've addressed it. I appreciate that, and now it's smooth." And you're really trying to just reduce friction points, right? What I love about listening to your podcast and interacting with coffee shops is that, like, coffee is such a perfect use case. And again, I use the word perfect. It's a perfect use case in the name of iterating toward some vision that you have. And as you move forward and you lock in on some observation that you've knocked out, you have that now. And you're going to carry that with you forward until you do the next thing and the next thing. And, when you look at restaurants, man, they're just rolling the dice always. You know what I mean? It's just so often is so far from being perfect. But with coffee, like, if I can pick up that cup and I feel it's hot, I'm happy. I couldn't be happier. It's a quest. We're on a quest. We're on a journey. We're on a mission. It's all hands on deck. It's everybody together. It's accepting our faults. It's accepting that there's going to be really bright moments, but it's just going about it in a way where at the core of it all lies the community, which spills out from within the doors of that one shop. And people love it. People embrace the entrepreneur that gets that message in the coffee world. So basically, you need things that are dialed in to be listening to the things that are happening on the ground in coffee shops. If you can find products, whether it's a mobile app or POS, that's dialed into that, that's the beginning to what could be a home run, in terms of business expansion and stuff like that. And ultimately, approaching the end, right? You want to sell your business someday. If you've been using a properly designed system for all those years, for all those orders, you've been gathering gold in the form of data. And it's your customers, and it's their emails, and it's their phone numbers. And, a lot of folks are out there breaking their backs. They're working hard. Make sure you capture the things along the way that you're going to need to someday exit. You're going to need the stuff to sell it to somebody else. Maybe you won't sell it, but when the day comes that somebody wants to buy your business from you and you're ready to hang them up or step back, you don't want to be sitting there saying, "I don't have that information. We didn't gather that. We don't have that." So at Espressly, we're trying to help people to collect the little nuggets, collect the gold, to do it in a non-awkward way, to do it in a streamlined way that calls on technology, because we know that Starbucks is counting on the coffee shops of America to not do that stuff. They're going to do it. They're going to embrace the tech, the data. They don't think that the other shops will or can, but they can. It's not hard. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It's already known.
Love it. Yeah. And I'm thankful that that's the work that you've taken on. It's really great to talk to you here about this subject. It's definitely fascinating. And I hope that people walk away with these insights and continue to think about them after this conversation. And check out what you're doing at Espressly as well. Tell us how we can do that. People probably remember how to get there, but tell us again how to interact with Espressly.
Yeah, it's real simple. If somebody has even a sliver of interest in seeing what this could possibly look like, for one, we work with shops that use Square. So if you use Square, we specifically really want to just show you something. If you don't use Square, that's fine. We can show you something too. We have products that also work. It's the end-to-end integration capabilities that we have as programmers for folks that use Square. It really excites us to show you what that looks like. So if you're out there, we just start by giving you a mock-up. We mock up the app. Here's the 5 or 6 screens, your splash screen, your menu page. We make a dark theme, we make a light theme, we get your colors, and we just send it to you and we say, this is what it might look like. And then we let people guide the design. It's infinitely customizable. You pick the colors, you pick the font. It's really quite simple. We should give you the ability to craft your own app. It's your app. And from there, if you want, we send it to Apple, we send it to Google. We get it approved. It's in our developer account. We don't ask for any money. We're not asking for a commitment, right? We take care of that. We've created the system that lets us replicate these apps. This is all we do. We don't do browser-based ordering. We don't have anything other than these apps. This is what we do: Android apps and iPhone apps. So we send them to Google. We send them to Apple. We get it approved. We send you an email which has a link in it. You click that link. It opens in Square. You authorize a connection, and boom, just like that, all your items, your customer list, your Square loyalty system, all that stuff. It's just real time synced because of the amazing things that the folks at Square have created, not to our making. It's that all goes to Square. So now we give you a portal and you can see your entire Square system. You just go in and disable the certain categories you don't want the world to see. Maybe it's the farmer's market category that you use occasionally. Just get it set, have it show what you want. And when it's ready and you don't need to rush, we remove the password protection that's on the app for moment one, right? So you don't need to worry that customers are going to find it. You don't need to worry like, what if I decide I don't want it? Is this thing out there? No, it's safe. It's clean. It's protected. But at some point, we reach that milestone, which is a big celebration. We remove the password. Now you have an app. You can go on Instagram and go on Facebook and say, go in the App Store and download our app. It's not, some marketplace app. It's not some POS company's app that they need to somehow find you in. And you get your app. And we don't charge any setup fee. We're not asking for a penny, in regard to saying like, hey, we'll give you your own custom app. It's going to cost you X. No, it's zero. And we're just confident that your customers love you and that you make good coffee. And we're confident that customers, well, they're always holding their phone. And this is digital real estate. This is your digital real estate. And we know they want to visit it. And if they place orders, then you can either pay us per order or we can do a flat amount per month per location. It's one of those things where for us, we're not looking to do anything other than have people out there that love what we do. And part of that is that the economic deal needs to make sense within the profitability of their business. It's a two-way partnership and it's a forever deal, right? This is a forever app. If you're going to get an app, you should never replace it until your business sells to somebody or until the business is gone. That's what we are here to do. We make an app and it's going to be live for the entire time that business exists. And that's the only thing that makes it worthwhile, which is why we don't want to charge a setup fee or anything like that, because that sort of muddies the water.
Right. Okay. And that's at espressly.co.
Yeah, espressly.co. And we have a contact form. It does ask what you use for POS. Do you use Square Loyalty? Do you use Square gift cards? We'll gather up that data. The apps are clean, they're fast, they're bug free. Thankfully, there's enough shops out there that have come in for mock-ups that have made their apps live that we just continue to advance and support them. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to have my voice heard out there in the world of the folks that listen to your podcasts, Chris. I've immensely enjoyed the relationship we've had through Coffee Fest or advertising with Keys to the Shop. The battle rages on, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Yeah, pleasure talking to you. And again, appreciate your work and passion for the community. It's definitely something we can all tell you have, and I'm really grateful that that's behind what you do at Espressly. So thank you for being here. All right, everybody. Well, I hope that you really enjoyed that. And one thing that I leave this conversation thinking is all of this technology, all of this work, all of this thought and arrangement and crafting, what is it for? Well, it's for that idea of that seamless customer experience, removing obstacles for a customer's enjoyment. As we increase our technology, inevitably it's going to be a tool that we use for that purpose, just like we use an espresso machine, just like we use a cash register or any other machine or tool or physical object in the coffee shop. In the end, what we're trying to do is create an experience. So whether you do that through your brick and mortar and the paint and textures of the cafe, the colors on an app, the customizability of a mobile app, and online ordering, it really boils down to the same principle. We're trying to serve our customers something that they want in a way that brings quality, and it makes it easy for them to enjoy it and for that experience to be impactful. And so I love hearing Joe's heart for this and using mobile apps for that purpose. And so with that said, I have to say thank you to Joe for being on the show, supporting the show. I really appreciate you and your passion for our community and what you do. If you're interested in learning more, you can go to espressly.co and follow Espressly on Instagram over at the handle Espressly Apps. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback for me, then definitely reach out. Chris@keystotheshop.com. That's where you can reach out. If you're interested in having a conversation about one-on-one consultation and coaching with me, I love that I get the opportunity here to help you be successful in creating these experiences for your staff and customers and for yourself to enjoy ownership, to find fulfillment and profitability and thrive. That's what it's all about. So if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, Chris@keystotheshop.com. And with that, that is the end of our episode today, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. As always, don't forget to share these episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.